Well, that was good. I forgot to chop the end off the crawl. Evening all. Welcome to KWADeRATIC. Where have we been? Where have we been? We've been to London to visit the Queen. Something like that. It's raining and it's horrible. What is even going on? Why has Boris released us into this world of pain known as drizzle? Where the hell are you?
I'm in a sunny apartment in some city called City. No, it's a filter. Everyone will know it's a filter.
It looks good.
Because if I move back too far, it
looks good. You're like Homer going back into the hedge when you do that.
Yeah.
I've just got my standard backdrop of, like my coat and my bags and my lateral flow tests, just what everybody wants to see. I'm like Drew. I'm like Rotor Riot. I've got that, superb backdrop going on.
The thing is, I never quite know where I'm going to be, so I've got really, really used to running filters on all my videos.
I think we should make that the title of your upcoming autobiography. I never know where I'm going to be.
It's true. I'm all over the place. I'm at my girlfriend's house.
Oh.
And that was a bit of a mad rush to get here in time.
So yeah, I was expecting you to be at home.
Yeah, I am at home. It's kind of how it works. I literally I'm kind of only at my house when I've got my kid. Outside of that, I'm not.
Yeah, I think we can.
I am only 15 minutes from Wellington Cooling Towers, so
that's kind of handy.
There are some definite advantages.
I think we all remember that time in our life where we meet someone special and suddenly the dust at home begins to settle because you're never there. That's why I got dragged up here from way down south. But anyway, let's not go into that. And also, speaking of personal things, I got a new job, so I'm very happy.
Well, let me be the first to publicly say congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the world of the living.
Yes, back into the corporate world. I am now. Are you ready for this? This is impressive.
If it's not Fairy Princess, I'm going to be.
I am now digital architecture manager.
Very swanky.
Good. There's only one problem with that. I don't know what one of them does.
It sounds a bit made-uppy to me.
It does. I have anxiety. I have serious anxiety, but it'll be fine. All right, who's out there? Who's joining us tonight out there in the world of chat? Oh, there's a few people. Finley, how are you doing, Finley? Finley, I hear you had a birthday. Happy birthday, young man.
Happy birthday, Finley.
Still not old enough to drink or drive or do anything useful, but happy birthday. Clive's out there. RC Maniac. Sheriff. Hi, Sheriff. How are you doing? Did you see sheriffs flying at the weekend?
I didn't.
It was all the fast.
I wasn't watching
it was all the fast, but he still got beaten by Bearman. Just saying.
Well, that's kind of standard, isn't it?
Although Bearman didn't get a trophy because he left early. Oh no, that was our race.
Even Lavender Blue got a trophy. She was faster than him.
Oh, this weather though. I mean, so we had a race. Guys out there in chat, you will probably know that we had a race at Killer Quads here in Solihull on May Day. We got totally rained out.
It was horrible.
Then there was a qualifying event after that nearly got rained out. I just why is it the wettest May on record or something? And why is it always the wettest May on record? And who's boring enough to keep these records?
I'm going to go with someone called Colin. Yeah. Like, random story. I used to know a guy called Colin, and he spoke in a very nasal voice, much like this. Absolutely no intonation whatsoever, and it just went on and on and on, and it was really, really boring no matter what he was talking about. So he could be talking about the single most. He could be telling you how to make your millions by picking your nose, but you could not. It was impossible to pay attention to him because he just the sound of his voice droning on was so terrible that you just couldn't listen to it.
No more Collins. We don't do Collins. No Collins.
I think it's a rare name these days.
Crazy. I think it's RC Maniac. I think he strikes me as a meteorologist.
Maybe.
He's with us later, joining us with a tip of the week. Hello, dog.
Yeah, sorry, that's Rebel.
Hi, Rebel. Woof, woof. Cats. Chase them, boy. Get them, cats. Go on.
You wouldn't know what to do with one.
No, it's very true. Our old Labrador used to chase everything and never caught anything. Thank goodness, because if we ever caught it, God knows what would have happened. What's the big news? What's the big news this week, Winterblue?
Well, I think the big news this week is the dog barking madly.
Yes.
The dog's really excited about the big news. The big news is DJI FPV video output, which you might be able to hear over the dog. I don't know. But yeah, some very smart guy has cracked getting video out from the goggles.
Why has it just suddenly happened overnight? It just came out of nowhere. Is it because of the new version 2 firmware? Has he used the output that they're using for the new £1 million mistake?
So the goggles have always had the facility to output video, and all it really took was someone figuring out how to send the magic packet to make it send the video out. And I was playing around with this today, and oh my goodness, it works really, really well. I mean, it's going really quickly as well. There is an Android app for it that's out and stable. You can now do it through a web page.
Oh, that's good.
So literally, the caveats being you've got to turn low power mode off on your air unit, and you have to otherwise or be armed before you start the software. Otherwise, it fails.
Well,
but in my book, you just turn off low power overheat mode and run with it. I mean, I've got a DCase Vista, and that runs fine for about 2.5 minutes before it cooks itself on the bench.
Not ideal.
And then it shuts down because it's too hot.
So speaking as a race director, which I think I'm allowed to qualify myself as, I can start doing HD races, and other people can as well, and streaming them. How cool will that be?
That'd be awesome. I must admit, when I'm going to come down to a race practice, and I'll bring the necessary tooling to make this work. I'll have a play with it.
Tooling. Race practice. If
anybody's
out there that comes to Killer Quads race practice is moving because I've got a new job and I don't finish early on a Monday anymore. I finish early on a Friday. So Monday
Monday's race practice is no more. We're now moving to a Friday.
It has been renamed. We've changed the name. It's now Friday race practice. So yes, please come along on Friday. Although Sheriff can't do Fridays because he has other commitments. Sheriff says Behrman is on performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah, it's called being young, fit, and healthy.
Look, a Kiora isn't a performance enhancement drug. Okay, it just isn't.
Kiora. Do you know who I think would remember Kiora and the adverts for Kiora? I think it would be our special guest.
It could be our special guest. Shall we ask our special guest, boys and girls, if he remembers Kiora?
Yes, I think we should.
Mr. Penders 360, good evening. I do like to just
hello.
To just dump our guests in.
Hopefully, I was just desperately searching for the mic mute so that you can hear me. No, I kind of remember Kiora. I also kind of remember Rio. But we can do the whole thing about the old stuff. Spangles.
Which Bongo.
Bongo. The drink it in the Congo.
That was the best advert in the world ever. And Bongo was just amazing.
It was amazing. Rio, which is kind of the modern version of it, is very close, but it's not as good. There's nowhere near enough E numbers and sugar in it to really give you that same result. How are you doing,
we
guys?
Are doing awesomely well. How are you, sir?
Yeah, really good actually. If I move I don't know if you can see how
why
sunny
have you got
is.
sunshine?
I'm living in God's country,
dude,
mate. It's awesome.
It's dark here.
But so today, no, it is. Well, you can see I'm a bit shiny. It is absolutely lovely here. So we have these little bits of rain. It's in Cheshire, northwest of UK. Little bits of rain, and then it buggers off, and then the rest of the day is glorious. So today we did 4 hours at the field, me and a mate. And it's one of my flying buddies. If he's listening, say hello to Adam. And he has been a fixed wing guy. He's a full-size pilot. Well, of course he's full-size. He isn't like a little person or anything, but he's a full-size pilot. And he's been flying fixed wing forever. And then I got him into it. He's been watching me fly these quadcopter things, and he's finally got himself one. And today he did some because I was trying to get him to do the line of sight drills first before he tried FPV. But of course he's tried FPV now. realised it's amazing. So today I gave him one of my DJI quads and all the DJI kit, and he flew that. And it was just brilliant, just seeing the big goofy grin on his face. But yeah, 4 hours of flying, and it was epic. I have so missed just going to the field, and it was one of the hardest things in lockdown. The community side, going seeing and flying with mates. I missed it so much.
Yeah, it's. It was Winter Blue. You and I went out for like the first flight after lockdown, didn't we? And that was kind of odd. I had like agoraphobia, I swear, when we went to like a big field.
Yeah, you were proper freaking out. But it was good to get out and fly. Even though, so for Christmas, Killer Quad's got Cerberus, the DJI goggles and an air unit.
Still can't believe happened.
There's a brilliant video of him almost crying, almost. He's built this DJI quad, and it's his first flight with it, and he's just getting to grips with it, and he does this like low pass in front of us, only it was way too low, and he managed to fly his brand spanking new DJI quad straight into the only concrete within about a mile and a half. And it was like I watched the whole thing happen, and it's like I didn't have my goggles on, I was just watching the quad flying, and he's just flying along, and he was going quite fast, and he was going quite fast, and then he was stationary.
Yeah, it didn't.
There was no slowing down, no stopping. It was I'm flying, and then I'm not.
It didn't. It didn't tumble end over end, or you have to like walk off and find where it rolled to. It just stopped. It was quite a thing. It was the
first pack.
It was crazy. It was the tee-off block thing, wasn't it, on a golf course? Apparently, they need a big lump of concrete to tell them where to smack their balls. Oh, something like that.
You can't say
I can.
that.
I just did. There's nothing rude about that. Golfists.
So, moving swiftly on, Lee, what have you been up to recently? Tell us all. What have you been playing with?
Well, back to that other comment. Luckily, China seems to have finally reopened. One of the big things you'll have noticed that lots of YouTubers, I have to say it like that, is that a lot of the review channels really slowed down and started doing live streams and stuff, because the way it tends to work is the 2 weeks before Chinese New Year happens, so it's like end of Feb or something, isn't it? They ship loads of stuff as much as they can, then they close up and they go on holiday and have a lovely time, and then when they come back, it takes normally, right, pre-pandemic, it takes a while to ramp up. So there's a hiatus of technology, about 2 or 3, 4 weeks, where you don't get loads of stuff in to do all the reviews. It's been really bad this year. It's been compounded because what happened is a lot of the raw materials and chip manufacturing has switched away from some of the legacy and the older lines that they've been using on. So, for example, automotive manufacturing is really struggling at the moment because all the chips they use in their cars, China hasn't been making for ages because they switched on to other stuff because no one was buying cars because no one could go anywhere. So it's taking a while to bring the ship, and it's only in the last 2 weeks that products have started appearing again. So after having a lovely 4-6 weeks of not having stuff arriving all the time, which for some channels, people start freaking out about the fact, so it's live streams and interactive stuff, which is great. I've always got a massive list by my side of videos that I want to make, which is those daft comments they're not daft comments, but the comments that you get on a regular basis, right? That you really need a video that you can go, don't worry about it, mate. We've all been there. Go and watch this video. It'll sort you out.
I've got a random question off the back. It's literally, I'm going to interject because I've got
go
a
on.
random question.
Interject away.
So you said you have a list to your side of things that you want to do videos on. What is number 4 on that list?
Hang on, I've got to bring it up because at the moment it's not in there. Videos to do. Do you want back burner ideas? Painless 360 answers. Q. I'll tell you what. Let's do painless 360 answers. So number 4 is CCPM setup in OpenTX. Okay. So that is one of the ones, and in the other list, because there are multiple lists, believe it or not, it is Dashware and OpenTX log files. Ooh. So one of the things I've been working on with a couple of people like Gal Kramer, so shout out to Gal. If you're not watching Gal on YouTube, he's a good guy. is a way for those flight controllers that have things like iNav on that don't have an SD card. How do you then import all the telemetry so you can do the overlay of all, like, you know, your speed, altitude, all that goodness for your DJI or your HD footage, where you can do it with OpenTX logs. But there are, of course, things you have to do because the log files are not in the right format and you have to bugger about. So anyway, long story short, I've got these lists. So for me, it's like brilliant. I can actually do some of these because it's either I do the videos or I have to try and remember the same answer that I gave last time because that was a good one, and find it in the comments to cut and paste or do it. So long story short, loads of things coming in at the moment. Getting lots of quads back in. Lots of the quads initially were the analog versions of everything for review. That's because everyone was struggling to get the DJI units for the HD stuff. So that's happening. But the other stuff that's happening is the fixed wing part of the hobby is getting really busy again after being quiet for a while.
Good.
I did actually, one of the things I did today, James knows about this, but I maidened that Talon 250. Bless you. I maidened that Talon 250G that I've been trying to maiden for about 2 weeks. Finally figured out what the secret sauce was, and you do need a secret sauce, sadly. But I'm not a fan of the 250 class. I like my wings a little bit bigger because the 250 is too affected by wind. Yeah. I don't like models that, atmospheric rather than intestinal. I don't like models that are too big because that limits the places that you can fly. Lots of people, like for example, your Mini Drac or something like that, or the E-Wings Black Hawk that makes a sound, like, pigs dying, this horrible screech as it goes overhead. You cannot, there's only a small number of places you can fly that. So I like, well, things like the AR Wing Pro, I'm going to say that right, that are a reasonable size, very versatile, not particularly loud, that also are quite, I like models that come apart that you can stick in a backpack, because then you can put your radio and your goggles inside the backpack. You can kind of wrap the stuff in a plastic bag over the back of your backpack, and you can go walk into the middle of nowhere. And then because I'm not a fan of those backpacks where you have all the quads hanging off, like bling.
We display them like jewellery on our bags. It's great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you might as well, have earrings and
you go trudging through the undergrowth to get to your favourite spot, and your props and your arms are just catching on everything, and it's just a nightmare.
Well, it's not just that. You also have, Phyllis with her terrier dog who spots you going into that, and then immediately is, kind of, you get ready and your GPS locks up and you're about to fly, and she's like, "Excuse me, are you allowed to fly here?" And you're like,
"Here we go again."
Here we go again. So actually, not to be sneaky or anything, but I think it can draw a lot of attention, unnecessary, unwanted attention, if you kind of chomp in with kind of,
you can't go too really covert though. You can go too far the other way, because once you put the balaclava on and the full black outfit, then that's worse.
Particularly if you're within flying distance of something like a remand centre or a prison, I think you're probably going to be in trouble. Yeah.
Don't wear a trench coat either.
So you're
no, not stood in the bushes, because that will get you in trouble.
So your big list of videos, I want to know, is there anything on there that you keep trying to make and it just escapes you, and it's just like every time I do this video it goes wrong? Is there anything that's really like stuck at the moment you can't get out?
Ooh, good question.
No, with a caveat. The caveat is the technology moves so quickly, is that if you don't lock and load the video when you've got the idea, when you circle back to it after 2 or 3 weeks and you look at the content, what your notes and the slides you created and the visual diagram and all that crap, you can look at it and you go, "Oh, they've updated it, so it doesn't work like that now." So I'll have to. All right. So things like iNav with iNav 3.0 nearly here.
Yeah.
All my auto tune videos hopefully not be completely out of date. I'm in the middle at the moment, genuinely. I've actually got it on my desktop right now. I've got 3 that I'm currently in production. There's an Eachine TX16S video. So Eachine have done their own version of the TX16.
Oh, interesting.
Which is actually really good. But then the hardware's made by Radiomaster, so it should
I'm
be.
still keeping my X-Lite.
No one uses an X-Lite.
Hey! There's no...
Back me up, Lee. Back me up.
Yeah, I've actually given mine away, so
yes!
I can't say anything. I'm not...
Oh,
but then, hang on. I have the Tango 2, which I use instead, which is a similar form factor.
Oh, but that's not an X-Lite. That's fine.
No, it's not, but that's my consolation.
It's specifically the X-Lite that I have a problem with. I also have a Tango 2. I don't use it, but I have
at
one.
this point,
The Tango 2 is a nice little radio, actually. But the X-Lite I used to use for all the little quads, and I kept all the models on the X-Lite. And it's not a bad radio. It's just for me as a pilot that does a lot of fixed wing stuff, I need more than 4 switches for all the stuff that I do. You know, with all the gimbals and auto tune, auto whatever.
at this point, I'm only sticking with it because it bugs Winter Blue. So.
and as reasons go, I don't think there's probably a better one than that.
Thanks, guys. I feel touched.
That's yeah. We're like a brick in a sock. So things like the iNav. So the bottom of this list on my screen, I won't go through everything, is iNav flight modes explained, right? And I actually had a patron of mine get in touch just yesterday saying, I don't understand, how does this bit work? And I explained what the wiki says, because the wiki is good, but it doesn't, or it's written by the highly technical, super brainy people who write the code, who are trying. But no, actually, Pavel is really, but bearing in mind, English isn't his first language, and he's incredible. He's got a brain the size of the planet. He's like Marvin, the paranoid android, right? He is amazing at explaining stuff. I love his
rates.
videos. But
don't talk to me about rates.
Don't talk to me about this. They try and explain it, but in their views, they're abstracting the complexity that they understand intuitively because they wrote the code to a level where the plebs can understand it, like us.
Documentation written by coders is always painful.
It's never good. It's never good. And this is what I love. This is really part of the hobby. Going back to the video thing, I like talking to a technical guy for 45 minutes with my ears and eyes bleeding, right? Desperately trying to keep
clinging,
up. It's
clinging onto the conversation.
Exactly. Do you remember? Going back about the Umbongo. Do you remember that advert for Mantarez audio where there was a guy sat in a chair like this?
Oh.
And his hair was going backwards. Remember that advert?
Yes.
That's what it's like speaking to some of these guys. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. It just blasts you in the face. And then you've got to take that 45 minutes and you've got to devolve it down to a 12-minute video that 95% of the audience will understand the majority of first time through. And that's the fun part of the job, right? Because everyone can be very clever and very, and all that stuff. The real trick, in my humble opinion, is making it so that somebody who has no experience can watch the video and not get too lost.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny story is my wife is a primary school teacher, right? So she has nothing to do with the hobby. She's very supportive because, it is fractionally cheaper than Class A drugs. And,
at least it's not golf.
Yeah, absolutely. I did golf. I got bored.
Yeah, I tried it. Didn't like it.
No,
I hit a birdie. It just felt wrong.
Yeah, there's a whole. I'm going to pull us out of this trough before we get. But she knows that receive goes to transmit and transmit goes to receive when you're wiring a UART, and that's because I actually used to get there in the early days. I don't do it so much now because I love the lady and I don't want to get divorced. But I used to make her watch the video.
Yeah, because
right?
does it pass the wife test?
Yeah, if she gets to the end and I go, did you understand it? And she went, I didn't get everything, but I kind of understood about 78% of it. I'd be like, bingo. If you as a complete newbie got that much, somebody who's in the hobby will get it. So that for me is the fun. The technology is great, and I love playing with the technology. And there's, like we were saying before, there's lots of it coming in now. But for me, the fun part is the grin that you get on a pilot who you bump into at a show that goes, "Oh, I was stuck for bloody 3 days until I found your video." And you kind of go, "Hey, right, if it only helps one guy, you know what, I'm happy."
Yeah, totally. Girl, you've done job done.
I'm over the moon. Yeah, job done, absolutely. It's the we do this for fun. It's a hobby. It's not meant to be this tribal throwing fire bombs over the wall at each other because you aren't digital or you aren't analog or you aren't quad or you aren't fixed wing. We all do this because it is, we can't afford Class A drugs.
We're all stood in the field getting cold, having a laugh, and that's what it should be about.
Absolutely. I actually did a post about that on the Instagram thing a couple of days ago where I went to the field. The little Fat Shark batteries, the little ones that has the 4 lights on the top. Loads of people don't use them anymore, but I actually quite like them. We flew so much in one day that I ran 2 of those packs down flat. That's how much flying we're doing.
This one's destroyed. This one will not charge anymore. It's been sitting on my desk for months with the idea that I might fix it, and I just.
Okay, there's a piece of. Okay. I'll send you the link to the video that shows you how to fix it.
Thank you.
That's fine. But a great example, right? But the way it works is that there is circuitry inside that battery that disconnects the output to protect the battery.
Yeah, when it falls.
The stupidest idea from Fat Shark, right? Because I would quite happily sacrifice the battery rather than the 900 pounds worth of equipment I have travelling at 80 miles an hour over our heads. Right?
Yes, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, destroy the battery. Try not to burn my head when it fails catastrophically. Nice. That would be nice. Yeah. But the first time I ever did that, I was flying a little quad with the X-Lite, good radio, and. And I could hear this beep ping, and I couldn't figure out. I never heard it before. It seemed to be reasonably local. I couldn't figure it.
Everything beeps in this hobby. Everything.
It's like, who's upset now?
Which one of you is it? Either dinner's ready or there's a battery going flat somewhere.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Or my house has caught fire. I don't know which. So I did what any pilot does and ignored it. Yeah. And then the battery kind of went, right, I've had enough, and then disconnected the output.
Great.
So my goggles went black. Great. So of course I had to cut the power. The quad tumbled into the grass, and then I had to change that. Use the RSS cycle. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So. There is a little bit of circuitry that when the battery gets too low, it disconnects the output. You have to use it. If you've got a 9-volt battery, the old boxy ones that used to be in toys when we were kids.
Smoke alarm.
That's the one. That's it. I will send you the link, brother, and you can. Basically, you have to put it on the output in a certain way, certain polarity, and it wakes the battery back up. Because if you try and charge it now, it might still be disconnected. But I love that with Fat Shark. It just kind of went, oh no, you might damage your £30 battery.
Yes.
I'm going to save myself.
Boop.
No.
Or your drag careers kindly into the nearest field at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. And takes out a couple of kids and a Vauxhall Cavalier.
And the bus of nuns, as always.
Carrying the last seeds of whichever plant. Absolutely. With the gold bricks.
Are they wrapped around? Are they wrapped in a slice of lemon?
Yes, always.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you see, that's what I always wanted when I described the nano talon to use that line. It hung in the air in exactly the way that bricks don't. Because that's what I hate. I'm not a fan of talons because as soon as you cut the power, they just go. But yeah,
I still haven't flown a wing. I've built a wing, which was Winterblue's fault. I still haven't flown it. Because I'm scared. I want a really big field to go and fly it.
Built a plane.
Have I built a plane? I haven't built a plane.
Yeah, it's up above the stairs.
Oh, yeah, my Ripmax Trainer 40, which is a IC, and it's never been flown. I kind of half built it and then hung it on the wall because I got scared.
So what are you flying, Cerberus? What are you currently getting in the air? Or are you getting anything in the air right now?
So at the moment...
Again, sounds rude.
It's the last star of the show was the new Baby Hawk HD, which is beautiful. Flies just like my favourite ever quad, which was the 3-inch Baby Hawk. Really, really nice. Bit too much prop wash. It needs a bit of tuning. But also I had a small lipo on it. But it's the racers at the minute. My freestyle... Well, no, there's a story there, kind of, because my freestyle I always feel is suffering because I've been doing too much racing. And then Winter Blue dragged me out to the cooling towers to do some freestyle, and I'm like, oh, apparently all that racing really helps, and I'm hitting gaps and like doing the wibbly wobblies and the flippy floppies, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool.
So is it just the quads at the moment you're flying, or what are you actually racing?
So I race. Do you remember the Emax Hawk?
Yeah. I like the Hawk.
Yeah,
it was good.
yeah. So when we
how many of them have you got, Cerberus?
when we started Killer Quads, a friend of ours, Jim, who sadly passed away, he got into quads while he was unwell, and it was a great thing to kind of distract him. And he brought an Emax Hawk 5 and a Tyro 99, which I built for him.
Okay.
So we both took out our Tyro 99s, and I taught him to fly the Tyro 99. And after he'd flown that for a bit, he was like, yeah, it's going to be a while till I fly the Hawk 5. And unfortunately, he passed before he flew the Hawk 5. But he did leave it to me in his will. So I took that out and flew it, and I was like, this makes a really great race rig. So because it was kind of old, I was then trawling eBay and picking up old Hawk 5s. And I had this idea that if I was going to go racing, I wanted 4 absolutely identical quads.
Okay.
So while everybody else was upgrading to 6S and all that stuff, I was swooping in on these old Hawk 5s, buying them. The 3D printed parts are all the same, so printed those for all of them. So I've got 4 Emax Hawk 5s, and that's my race setup. So
cool.
That's actually, and I am potato. I am the most potato of anybody you've ever seen at a race. But if you are a potato, go to a race, because it doesn't matter. You be in heat F, and you'll be with other potatoes, and you'll be fine. But it's actually making me a bit quicker, because I can throw it at a kind of risky maneuver, and if it crashes and burns, I've got 3 identical.
Yeah, and you've got almost spares ready. Yeah. You can cobble a couple together if you really have to.
Yeah, if it went absolutely belly up, hopefully I could turn the smoking remains of 4 into one passable quad.
You also have a fixed. You also have your flying wing that you've never flown.
I have a wang.
So I gave Cerberus the remains of S800 Sky Shadow.
Yes.
If you remember that, Lee.
It is back together, but it is mostly hot snot at this point.
The thing is, I remember when I first ever met James and we went into the garage, it was just model after model after model after model, in kind of hanging with bit. It was like, you know, a Wes Craven movie decorated in RC components. It was horrific. And the really amazing thing is the majority, because you know, you probably remember this, James. You were kind of going, well, that there was like things like a Kype, you know, a campaign, a TBS campaign in there, and things like that. And I was going, no, we can fix that, mate. Get the hot glue gun on, and it is, you know, it's amazing how you know, it can be completely knackered. And so if you've got a hot glue gun and a spare and 10 minutes and a bit of sellotape, you can have it back together. And actually, as we were joking before we came on air, you know, sometimes it actually flies better back a bit.
With a bit of hot snot in the nose.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Unfortunately,
it's very hard to kill.
Not that one that he snapped in half and left half in the top of a tree that caught fire. That one's probably
that was dead.
Yeah, you do need to get most of the bits back, ideally not on fire, to put it back together. That's true.
My fixed wing history is pretty dire, to be fair. I have got, so I destroy. What have I destroyed? I destroyed a Bix 3 that I gave to RC Maniac.
Was that the Bix 3 that we did the lesson on?
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
exactly that one. I crashed it into the concrete at the golf course. It exploded. I tried to put it back together and then got frustrated and gave up. I've destroyed Capahini 2. I've destroyed a foamy Spitfire. I've destroyed an S800, two S800s. I destroyed whatever it was that caught fire in the top of a tree. I don't even remember what that was. I've glued
have you just blacked that out like
Yeah.
a car accident?
Yeah.
You can't really remember the details.
I got it as a Christmas present, and it caught fire. So I got it on Christmas Day, the 25th of December, and on the 27th of December, it was on fire in the top of a tree.
It was a Yule log. Fantastic. Very festive.
So yeah, there's that. I've now got, from your recommendation actually, I've got an AXN floater that's stuck to my wall. I've flown it twice. It has no flight controller, no FPV. It's a pure line of sight. It's still in one piece.
Yeah.
I had a nasty landing with it, and the foam at for the AXN floater, the fuselage is not sandwiched vertically. It's
So it's got the seam. Yeah.
yeah, and it's basically split in the seam, and the battery came out the front. And I've glued it back together, and I just haven't bothered to. It was really, the worst thing is it was really gentle landing. Like the thing just floated down really nice. It skidded along the grass. It was lovely, and I went to pick. I was like, yes, I've done it. I've actually flown a wing on my own without destroying it. And I walked over. I was like, oh.
It's given birth to a battery.
It's amazing how many stories I hear from pilots that start with the words, I was flying and then I got carried away, ...
Watch
and I think that, yeah, absolutely, yeah, hold my beer. That I think is, it's very easy to fly when you're learning beyond the capabilities of your talent. And I think
absolutely.
that, and we don't really help as a hobby explaining to pilots watching YouTube, again, still have to say it like that, because if you watch a YouTube video, you will assume that you can do freestyle and shoot those kind of gaps, or just go at the field and throw a wing and it just takes off beautifully, soaring into the beautiful sky. What we are really bad at is kind of, and actually it's a bit boring, but it does set people up for failure, is the 2 years, and the dozen models that are all smashed and to bits, and the 20 packs of hot glue we've gone through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's all part of it, and I think that it's not sexy, it's not exciting, it's not, you can't make lots of clickbait, fat shark killer, you can't do that with it, but actually it's a really important part that we need to do more. But James, if we need to get together again, mate, and do another lesson, I'm all up for that, brother.
Hell yeah.
Sign me up. I'll bring my wing.
But joking aside, we definitely, because there's a weird thing when you go from, if you're a very accomplished quadcopter pilot and you go to something like a wing, there's two big differences. The first is that the throttle, you can kind of just forget about it once you're flying. The throttle just makes you go faster. It doesn't change your height. And the other thing is that the rudder does nothing.
This is true.
Nothing.
I've got a third one to add to that list. And you'll appreciate this because you mentioned it in the video you made when you were at my house. And it's with a quad, you've moved the stick and things happen instantly.
Yeah.
With any kind of plane, you move the stick and then it happens.
Well, I installed the sim. I installed the Wings simulator. I coughed up for that, put it on, got it running, and then I spent the first 30 minutes going, why doesn't this hover? It's completely wrong. It's not.
It's but then we have the issue on the going the other way. So my friend who has, like I say, Adam, hello if you're watching, who I was with today.
He was in the chat earlier.
I can't do two things at once. So yes, hello, yes. Adam Hodge, who said, "Hi everyone, my mind was blown by the DJI goggles." Yeah, his wife will probably kill me because the more you use the DJI goggles, the more you kind of go,
yeah.
Oh, analog is a little bit smudgy, isn't it? Anyway,
it does it makes my racing look not quite as good anymore.
Well, I was actually, at the moment, I'm teaching one of my other friends. I have some of the FPV combat gear coming in. So there's a new FPV combat. So it's basically laser tag for FPV, which to me is just like so excited.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah, a little bit of weed come out. I'm that excited. And it's on its way, but so I'm getting 100-mile-an-hour wing because that's what you really need it on, and we're setting it up. So I'm trying to work with a couple of buddies who will also get one of the kits because you can't do FPV combat on your own.
No.
It's not a solo endeavor.
That would be wrong.
But it would be be wrong. Again,
So we need to do this, by the way.
going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the idea, but the cool thing is actually it uses a 433 megahertz radio, that's optional, and you can set up things like team games, capture the flag. When you get shot, it shows you on the because it has an overlay on the OSD, shows you your ammo count, lives, who shot you. You've got the little crosshairs and like the animated guns when you fire.
I want it wired to an onboard Roman candle so that when you get shot, that goes off.
So that's what we did with an earlier version of this when I was on that Channel 4 program. We actually had pyro on it that triggered the pyro.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it looks amazing, but you as a pilot, you have no idea. And it's only good if you got spectators because everyone goes, ooh.
Oh, but then you see,
that
passes the wife test, you see. That's one of my crusades at the moment, is making stuff pass the wife test. If it's spectacular, then you can take the wife along and you won't get in too much trouble.
Well, it's spectacular or cute. Right? Because actually, joking, and hopefully Greg won't mind me talking about this, but E-Wings, I bought and built a couple of E-Wings. So Greg tends to make these big, beautiful things that he cuts out of foam. And I've been at him for ages to make a small model. A little cut down 700 millimeter version, because ZOHD have stopped making the Dart, which is my single favourite plane. Come on, ZOHD. And they haven't brought out a new one. And in fact, my review of the Talon at the weekend, I mentioned that exact fact, because I still haven't spoke to them. They're not... Anyway, long story. But so I said to him, can you make a little wing? Because I'd love one of your engineering wings that goes like stink, but in a smaller form factor. And, see my previous bit of the conversation about these smaller ones that, are less imposing, and then you can fly them. And yeah. But also, the other, because his reaction was, well, it looked like a toy. And I said, no, Greg, that's the kind of the point, right? Yeah. If I can fly this in an area where, if I'm not doing the 100-mile-an-hour pass, they will go, oh, that looks really fun.
Yeah.
If it's a 1.5 meter wingspan thing making a noise like a pig that's being slaughtered, lots of people will have an issue with that. But the smaller model fit. Anyway, so he mocked this thing up, because as I was talking to him, he's like, well, I've got the Vortini and blah, blah, blah. So he mocked this thing up, and his wife walked in and went, oh, that's cute.
No, that's what we want.
And it was like, so Greg was like, I don't know if that's good or bad. I went, it's good. It's good because the intimidation factor, isn't it? I've got models for the intimidation factor. I've got 100-mile-an-hour drags if I want to be a goon, right? But if I just want to fly around and have fun and flip and roll, do acrobatics and chase my mates over the sky, then that's the one. But to go back.
So speaking of spectacular and cute, do you think we should wake up RC Maniac?
I like
Hold on.
segue.
RC Maniac, are you there?
I'm here.
Hello! How the devil are you, sir?
I'm alright.
Well, a little later than usual, but I have to ask you, are you still awake, and do you still have a tip of the week for us?
Yes, and yes.
and how's your AR Wing Pro?
Yes.
It's good.
Look at that. Woo! Look at that. There's hardly any flame marks on it at all.
It wasn't the AR that caught fire. It was the tadpole.
Oh yes, it was. That smoked rather spectacularly. That was quite cool. The only person I've ever seen rock up to a full-on race event and throw a tadpole out there up against all the 5-inch quads. Really quite spectacular. Right then, so time is getting on, and I think we're going to be overrunning. So chat, I have seen your questions, and we will throw some of them at Lee for you, and see what he says to them. But I think, RC Maniac, if you're ready, it's time for Tip of the Week, and only for a second.
So, Today's tip is for teeny tiny little flight controllers that this camera won't even focus on. Yes. It'll show up better in the close-up, but the solder pads on this are borderline microscopic.
Too small.
And
Some of them are as small as the ones on the underside of the FETEC all-in-one.
So tiny.
They're a little bit bigger than that. They're not quite that bad, but they are tiny. As I watch flight controller. And some of us don't have the best eyesight. Myself being one of these people.
I can vouch for that one. You wait till you get old and you have to start taking your glasses off to do stuff. That's really fun.
Oh, I already do because I'm short-sighted. So, we're soldering stuff like this, which is stupid small. There is a piece of technology that makes it much easier that most of us already have. Your phone. Specifically, the camera. You do need one other thing to pull this off, and that's some way of holding your phone. This is I think it's called a magic arm, and then a generic spring-loaded phone thingamajig.
Thingamajig is a technical term.
That camera jig thing looks expensive.
Not really. It's like 20 quid on Amazon, I think.
That's not bad.
So what you do is you get your phone out, you go to your camera app, or in my case, you go to your camera streaming app to stream it to your computer. And you set up a bit like this. Something to hold it in, even if it's taping it to your desk, as long as it
blue tack.
stays still.
Big lump of blue tack.
Yes, big lump of blue tack, great way of doing it. Just set your phone up in a holder and you zoom in.
Look at that. It's like having an electron microscope.
Exactly. And the scale,
Wowzers.
yeah, this is a 16 by 16 stack. So those pads are
That's crazy.
1 mil.
Yeah.
about a millimetre.
Wow.
The ones on the edge aren't so bad. The ones that are a real struggle are, if I can get the tweezers in the right place, these ones here that are inboard and next to teeny tiny components.
Yeah, because
Which,
you can quite easily desolder something you didn't mean to when you're doing those.
Yes, good. And even with what is a quite small tip,
That's what she said.
there's not much room. So maybe a small tip, but it's a tight fit.
I know how this tip of the week came about. It's actually my fault.
Is it?
So I bought a FETEC 15 amp all-in-one flight controller, and as you all know, I'm a exclusive digital DJI pilot these days, and that requires connecting up a UART for your OSD and stuff. Now the pins for TX and RX1, which are the only exposed UART for this flight controller, are maybe half a mil round, half a mil diameter round.
They're tiny.
And they're literally next to the CPU on the board. And I kind of took one look at it and went, there is no way on earth I'm able to do that. Physically, there's not a chance. So I actually called James and went, James, I need your help.
How do I do this?
This is beyond me. I didn't even want to try. And James rocks up with his phone and his clamp and he goes, boop, done. I was like, wow. Like 3 minutes and he was done.
That is a most excellent tip of the week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, RC Maniac.
RC Maniac.
Quick bonus tip.
Oh.
Is often if you're using the camera app on your phone, it'll usually automatically turn off after like a minute or two, because it assumes you've put your phone down and forgotten about it. So if you hit record, embarrassing as it may be if you forget to delete it, but that'll keep it going until you hit the record limit, which is, depending on the resolution, either usually 10 minutes or half an hour. And if you run out of time, you just hit record again, and just
That's
keep
a good tip.
going.
I like it. That's very good. I'm going to use that. I have something I need to solder that's incredibly tiny. I'm going to do some zooming on my phone. I'm very impressed with that. What did you think, chap? Who's out there? See that segue? That was really good. That was like almost professional. So we've got a few people out there in chat clinging to the wreckage. Tristan Lee, hello Tristan. Mama is fine. Thank you for asking. She's doing very well. Bearman, bonus points for hitting children. No, I'll say that. Hitting children. Hi David, welcome to the chat. Bright until I fly. Evening mate. How you doing? Can I ask Painless 360? How do you cook a steak? We'd better bring him back and ask him.
So the real trick for this is to have the pan incredibly hot. So a little bit of oil, turn the frying pan on, let it get so the oil is smoking, and then what you need to do is prep the steak by putting salt and pepper on each side. Sea salt is really good because it creates a nice crust, and then you put the steak into the pan and then you don't move it. So you're going to leave your windows open because it's going to get quite smoky. You need, for about an inch thick steak, you need about, depending on how you want it, between 2.5, 3.5 minutes per side. Flip it over, do the same thing, and then stick it in the warm oven for 5 minutes to rest after you take it out. And it should be fantastic.
I didn't know the don't move it thing, so I've learned something. That's really good. Sheriff FPV says, Painless 360, how many RC vehicles, quads, planes, etc. do you have? I've seen at least 4 reviews in the last week.
Okay, so this is a really good question. It's one I get a lot. So as somebody that's lucky enough to get sent stuff, there is only a finite amount of room in the garage that you have to store these things. Quads are a little bit easier. Planes in particular are just, as James can attest to, even in pieces, they take up a lot of room.
Oh, that's why you crash them, to make them smaller and easier to fold up.
And then you can put them on the wall in like crazy paving patterns.
Yeah.
And they all... But to answer the question, so I probably only have about 8 to 10 quads, and probably, I was actually looking at this for something I'm doing at the weekend. I probably have the majority of the stuff I'm flying at the moment is wings. I've really moved away from planes. Wings are, in my humble opinion, for the way I like to fly more fun, more portable, I've got about 10. I get more in. The way it works is that I tend to donate a lot of the models, not in the last year because coronavirus. But I tend to donate a lot of the models to places like raffles and stuff, Cherry.
Yeah.
A lot of them go there, and it's nice that they're benefiting. Some of them go into giveaways and things like that as well. Some of them get donated to people and worthy causes. So, for example, there's a guy up in the northeast of England that is working with underprivileged kids and using FPV and RC piloting to give them something to do apart from destructive stuff and act as a mentor. So when I get a box of stuff, I'll send it up to him. So long story short, I try and keep things moving through. But the interesting thing is there is a core of models that I fly regularly that become my beloved models.
Yeah.
That are the ones that I pull out, because especially at the moment, if you only get an hour at the field, you don't want to take all your experimental crap to the field, right? And have, and spend 20 minutes trying to find it because, one of the ESCs let go over the far
and
side,
spend
right?
more time on the laptop than you do on the sticks.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to go to the field and you just want to know it's going to work. You just want to kind of arm it, put the throttle up and away you go, or throw it into the air and let it power away. And there's a small group of things like that I fly all the time, and those are ones that are until I eventually destroy them through old age, are just kind of the core, and the rest kind of changes all the time. But I've still got my Drax, I've still got my E-wings, I've still got a Bixler with a little pan and tilt gimbal on it. I've still got one of almost everything ZOHD's ever done in terms of the wing stuff, because I like their things. Most of it's in one piece. And then the quads, I've got most of the Armatan stuff. I love Armatan. The Recon stuff I'm keeping hold of. The Recon 5 is beautiful. It's one of my favourite quads right now. It flies epically. And the Dave C design, where it's held together with those 2 studs that are actually used to hold the calipers together on a pedal bike, inspired. It's just beautiful. So the answer to the question is, it sounds, there's a lot of things come in, but I try and keep them moving out because at some point I have to get in the garage to get the mower out.
I think there's a video in there somewhere, because if it's good enough that it's made it into your beloved collection and didn't get donated, I think it's worth knowing about. So I'd like to see you actually do a shop tour of what your beloved collection is.
That's a really good idea. And it is going to be covered in my kit picks. I'm about to redo the kit picks video for this summer, and I always find that the last slide is actually the most interesting one, because it's what do I actually fly. So of all this, as a lucky guy that gets to get his hands on all the technology and get involved in product development, all this crap, what is it you actually, if you have to grab 2 or 3 things to go to the field to unwind and have fun, what are the 2 or 3 things you grab? And it isn't the stuff you'd expect. It's the stuff that, as we were talking about before, it's the stuff that doesn't let you down, that works great, that suits the way you fly. But the really funny thing is, my top 3 things out of all the things that are on my shelf, if you guys came around and had a look, you'd be like, no way, I want the Drac, or no way, I want the... There'll be something else that you want to fly, and that's absolutely fine. That all options are valid. It's just... it's kind of interesting because as somebody that gets all this stuff through, and particularly when you're doing reviews, and I try not to do this, but it's hard to not fall into the trap. Everything is brilliant. Actually, no. Not everything is brilliant. You're absolutely right, Serb. If you kind of look at all the stuff on the shelf and kind of do the how much dust is on it test, right?
Yeah,
some of the models are still clean because they get flown all the time, and others are just kind of beauty wall hangers. And the interesting thing is, I don't fly the really expensive models like the Carpagina 2, right? I don't fly it very often because by the time I've got the battery in it and the action camera, it's £800-900, pounds as in currency, financial investment, and it scares the crap out of me because if I make one mistake or the iNav stuff lets go, that is going to be expensive.
Yeah, it's in the bush.
£150 wing, you know what? I will have fun and I will be more daring with the flying that I'm doing, and I will have more enjoyment out of that, because if it goes in the ground, you know what? I'll just pull all the electronics out and go and buy some more foam kits.
Well, my
you know what? That's the excuse I'm using for not finishing my Drac.
You've got to fly. If you haven't finished your Drac,
you've got to get that sorted.
It's life-changing.
You've had 2 lockdowns to finish that.
The problem is, because it's such an expensive aircraft, and what I'm putting in it is not cheap, and I still don't have all the bits I want to put in it yet. I'm kind of it's a labor of love. So if I'm not in the mood to work on it, I don't want to work on it, because I'll rush it and I'll mess it up, and I want this to be it's got to be right, and I'm taking my time to make sure that. But when it gets to the point where I go out to the field, it is going to be perfect. The only parts I'm missing for it now are some MMCX to SMA adapters, or I need to find out how long the cable is on Menace RC's Aeropods.
15 centimeters is standard.
Okay.
That's the right man. You see, the Aeropod
is one of the ideas that I gave to Boogalugs at a lunch at 3 years ago when we were at what's the hall called? Is it Walton Hall? The big show that we go to. What's that called in the Midlands?
Western
Park.
Yeah, Western Park.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I pitched 3 ideas to Greg, and one of them was the Aeropod, and he basically ignored it for a whole 12 months, and eventually, okay, we'll have a go. So yeah, the Aeropod is one of So lots of my models have the Aeropod. In fact, there's a model behind me I'm building for a mate that's got the Aeropod on. But you can get different. You're putting the DJI unit on.
Yeah.
So you're using left-hand circular polarized.
Yeah, and I want 2 of them. So yeah, that's kind of my plan. But every time I kind of go, I need to get those, and I go and look at Menace's website, they're out of blinking stock.
Everything's out of stock.
No. Well, I'm kind of pleased in a way, because if it had made loads of them and nobody bought them, I'd feel like a bit of an idiot, and I'd be like, sorry mate, I've just
Now I had a similar learning experience, otherwise known as a mistake, when I kind of got into the hobby, because my first flying thing was a Taro 680, big hexacopter with Pixhawk on it, and it took me like 6 months to build because it was quite expensive, and I'd like buy a bit, bolt it on, buy a bit, bolt it on, and it was dull to fly. It was really scary. You fire up like 6 13-inch or whatever it is carbon props, and you get your GPS lock and you set it to hover, and then you're kind of like, well, it's hovering, I don't really want to do anymore because I'm scared. and it was, when you put loads of time and effort into them, it's actually sometimes quite difficult to just get out and let them rip. Sometimes a Taro 99 that you don't have that much emotional or financial investment in, take it out and throw it at a tree, and that's, I think, the way forward. What's a crime? I don't know. I'm looking at the chat now. Chat, how?
Yeah, Brighton says it's telling me something's a crime. I don't.
Oh, that you've got so many wings, probably. Bearman says, do you just sometimes go and buy wings and then tell the missus that one was a review model?
Is that aimed at James? Sorry,
I think that's aimed at you. Is that your go-to excuse? Oh no, darling, somebody sent me that for free.
Well, it's the DHL and other boxes that are stacked in the back of the house. That's usually the giveaway. She goes, "Oh, what came today?" I was like, "Oh, another wing." So, but the thing is, it's nice because when you get to a certain point doing all this stuff, it's nice when people like ZOHD and Menace and other people come to you and kind of like pick your brains or want to run things by you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once you start getting involved in the product development, it gets really fun because the thing is, you get loads of models through you, and there's this little bit is good in this model, this little bit is good in this model, but this bit's terrible, that bit's a bit crap, this bit's good, and again, all options are valid, but for the way that I fly, you kind of generate in your head an idea of what would be the perfect product for you, whether it's a wing, a quad, or whatever. And then if you're lucky enough that a vendor comes along and says, we're thinking of doing this, what do you think? And they actually listen to pilots, which, by the way, more vendors need to do, rather than come up with stuff they want to sell us.
That's the whole Steve Jobs thing, isn't it? Work from what the customer wants back to the technology, not from try and find out how to sell the technology.
It's really, really basic stuff, but so many people, and we're looking at you, DJI, do things like they develop a product, and that's it. The fact that we're getting so excited about somebody's managed to hijack the video output on the goggles. Yeah. It should have been there for day one.
Surely. I hope.
Come on, it's a HD system.
Someone sitting at DJI in their office right now must be looking at it and going, "Wow, people are really excited about this." Maybe that tells us something.
There's somebody going, "Oh my God, they figured it out. They figured it out. I thought they'd never figured it out.
How do we patch it out?"
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
all right. There'll be a firmware update in the next few weeks.
They'll kill it.
Joking aside, there's a very good chance that they look at people like Free Sky and people like that. So there are people in the hobby who create product to keep taking our money, right? And there are people in the hobby, and they're the guys that I tend to get excited about, that kind of go, "So what do you want?" And there's no one perfect answer, as I've kind of said, right? Because my perfect wing is not going to be your perfect wing, James. It's not going to be your perfect wing, Serb. It's not going to be your perfect wing, RC Maniac. But the fact that they're asking is such a good indicator that they're not sat in their ivory tower just coming up with what they think is a great wing, or a great quad, or a great radio, or a great boat, or a great car, or a great whatever. And it's so fun when vendor, and Greg, going back to Menace RC, Greg is really, really good, because I've pitched some wacky stuff to him that I can't get into detail because it's all coming, but I get really excited about, because it's kind of like, oh, wouldn't it be good if we could do this? And he goes, "Oh, I can probably do a circuit board that does that." And I'll be like, "Really?" And then he'll hate me for it, because every 2 or 3 weeks I'll be sending him a message going, "Any update, bud?" And he'll be like, "No." And then eventually he'll say, "I've just shipped you 2 prototypes," and it's just like, "Wow, awesome. This is cool." This is like having a Star Wars, a Star Trek replicator. If you can think of something and it just appears, it's awesome.
And to be able to put something out there, that's a really good rush. Even like. What kind of correlate it? Seeing a killer quad sticker on somebody else's back is really cool. I really like that. You know, that's like, oh, I've done something that other people appreciate. That's really good.
In fact, Lee, after the show, if you drop your address to either me or Serb, we will get some Killer Quad stickers out to you.
Thanks, mate. I will reciprocate with Painless 360 goodie bags.
Stickers.
Ooh.
We like stickers. Everybody loves stickers. They
Oh, mate, we have stickers. We have pins.
I've got one of your pins.
it's very posh
you have
pins.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
I'm not sure.
I've got one of those. I'm one of your hats. That lives in my car.
Stickers are the best, love.
Yeah, stickers are best. I actually just put some new stickers on my RC boat behind me. RC boats, by the way, are kick ass. They're really fun.
Have you ever played around with a remotely controlled submarine?
Look, stickers.
Look at that. What is that?
That's an insane thing.
Is an ever so slightly modified
What the?
Great Plains Fling.
It's a glider.
It was a glider.
Oh. And now it's powered.
Can you tell it's not a glider?
Oh, oops.
Anyway. And it's, of course, stuck a flight controller in it.
You've got to, right? It's inevitable. Everything eventually has to have a flight controller.
And I've got it running Ardu Pilot.
That's impressive.
Oh, okay. What do you think of Ardu Pilot?
It makes this thing fly like it's on rails.
Rails, yeah. Everyone says that. I think it really annoys the iNav guys when we all say.
Yeah.
A couple of times I accidentally flipped this into manual and it went whoop. Flipped it back into fly-by-wire array, straight back, level, beautiful. Return to launch, beautiful.
I've got to say that I've seen that model in real life. It is possibly the smallest aircraft I've ever seen. Like the fuselage is like my thumb.
I'll tell you how big it is. Across.
That's what she said.
31 millimeters.
31
Wow.
On the outside.
Lovely. So it's kind of yeah.
It's proper tiny.
There's only one flight controller on the list of RG Pilot flight cheap flight controllers for RG Pilot that I could confirm would fit.
And which one was that one? Was it the Maytech 411 or one of those things?
Omnibus F4 Nano V6.
Oh, okay.
I think off the top of my head. I really should remember.
He's guessing.
Pretty sure that's what it was.
It is. I mean, as I said, I've seen this thing in person, and everything is just crammed in there so tight.
But
Like it's that is quite a model.
Impressive.
swap.
Oh, he's
To
doing
handheld.
I
technical.
think your camera's not working properly.
He's
Give it a
doing
moment.
technical
Awesome,
things.
man,
Yeah.
Please hold the
And,
line caller. There you go.
Zoom out. That's just a temporary camera I've got on there because the Runcam Split 4 I had in here decided to die randomly.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. Don't know why.
Oh, and it's
It just
got
died.
one of those crazy connectors on it that you like as well.
What, those?
No, the green one.
Oh, the MPX connector.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Great. 2 tiny, like 4-gram servos, I think they are.
It's a very
That
very
is
small plane.
very compact, isn't it? It's
Fishing line,
that must have been like building a
little
plane in a bottle.
Not far off. Crossfire in the back, obviously. And,
Well, at least you know if the plane building doesn't work out, you can always go and be a gynecologist.
Oh my god!
Yeah, squeeze down in there.
That's what she said.
That's a really nice build.
That's a work of art. That is.
Underneath 433 megahertz telemetry radio because it's iNav, IG Pilot, sorry. Along
That's
with
impressive.
2 Maytech Microbecs because literally everything on this runs on 5 volts.
So Brian Till I Fly says, is it under the 250 grams?
Unfortunately not.
Oh,
That's because you have money strapped to the back of
close but no cigar.
Yeah. You got to balance it somehow.
That's superb. That is superb.
That's awesome.
The bet that it was it would fly first time 42p.
42p is the required amount of ballast.
And if you get stuck, you've got your bus fare home.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Old quad motor, ESC hidden down in there, using ESC telemetry for voltage and current, and then
This
big
is
thing
why
on the
we
wall.
get him to do the tip of the week, because he just comes up with these crazy builds and crazy ideas.
there's the GPS and airspeed embedded into it.
Look at that. He's even got 3D printed wall hangers for the wings. It's very impressive.
And the quads. Yeah. 3D printed inserts to fit servos for ailerons on the wing, because
Well,
to start with.
3D printing and our hobby just seem to go hand in hand, don't they? They're such perfect bedfellows.
Match made in heaven.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's actually probably the way I came across Painless 360 was actually Thingiverse. That's probably my first experience of Painless 360 was Thingiverse, because I remixed something of yours.
Oh, okay, fantastic. What was it? Can you remember?
The little brackety thing that goes on a Tyrannus to hold a screen.
Oh my god! Yeah, okay, yeah.
Is that going back some?
Yeah, that's
It is going back a long way. That was back in the day where we used to have little screens.
Yeah, like little screen hanging off the
I
front of it.
remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tell you what, the Thingiverse page is. I just love Thingiverse. I just love the fact that if you find a problem in the hobby, if you think back before 3D printing, what we tend to do is we'd tend to get a piece of balsa wood and a knife, and we'd start kind of whittling this bit away.
Whittle a solution.
We might spray it black so it didn't look like it. And then the first time you crashed, it would just snap. So then you have to spend another 2 hours whittling another one, and the 3D printer just go and away it goes, and then you come back 20 minutes later and you've got a part. It is epic. I love 3D printing. I can't believe how much difference it's made to my hobby.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you can see, you can't from where I'm sat here, but yeah, I've got the little one that's running all the time, and it's just fab.
Yeah,
and then, in fact, if you want to know what I'm working on, if you watch my Thingiverse page, you will be able to get a big heads up, right? Because it's automatic. I almost do it, and then I think, oh god, I shouldn't have shared.
Yeah,
that.
you've given the game away.
I've kind of given the game away. So for example, the Talon 250 Maiden that I've finally done today, video at the weekend, finally.
At last.
I smashed the living crap out of that thing. We're trying to get it flying,
Yeah.
but all the things that broke. The bits of balsa, because it's designed to be a very lightweight model, which means it isn't built particularly resiliently. Everything that I broke, it was like, oh well. So I just found the bits of balsa, kind of traced around it, a quick sketch up, print the thing, and it was back in the air, and it was like, this is just
SketchUp, a man after my own heart. SketchUp is awesome.
I have to say, my favourite thing that you've produced on Thingiversely has got to be your Halloween bats.
What about the Halloween spiders? I like those too.
They're not. I don't like those so much, but the Halloween bats I really like.
Yeah, we're big Halloween fans in this house, so I'm afraid everything gets decorated. I still want to do who was that guy that kind of hung like a ghost from a quad and flew around the park?
Yeah,
it was
I saw
on a
that.
string. Do you remember that? With light up eyes, it was making noise. I still want to do that sometime. That was so funny.
My big Talon 680 would do that pretty well, I think.
That was either, I think, Flight Test or RC Test Flight, I think. Might have been someone else, but...
One or the other.
No, I think it was somebody. It was like one of those prank channels that was doing it. I think it was someone like that, and it was just such a cool thing to do, because it would swoop down, because it was on such a long. I don't know how they did it, so it wasn't just twisted round, but it was on such a long thing that the quad was high enough.
Yeah, you didn't spot it.
You didn't spot it. It was, and this thing just kind of floated across it at treetop.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, it was epic. So no, but I can't believe we've been going for nearly.
We have. We are
an hour and a quarter.
16 minutes over time.
Wow.
See, we're doing that
Sorry.
because we've gone over because Winter Blue has already arrived at his preferred destination. Normally, he's like,
Yeah.
"Can I go now? Can I go now?" So he can jump in the car and drive to the girlfriend's house. But he's there already, so we're torturing him. He's there, and he still can't snuggle the girlfriend because we've got him online.
Got nowhere to go.
It's all right. She's very understanding.
Right. Well,
Are there any other quick
I
questions?
think we
just
should.
in the
Yes,
last
we should have
30
a
seconds
quick look
before
at
we-
chat, and then we should think about wandering off. So Sheriff says he's got hundreds of fossil stuff stickers. Well, bring them to an event. We want them. Sheriff crushed. Oh, did he crush your that build with his fat feet? That's terrible.
Oh, yeah. The reason there's electrical tape on the tail is it was on the floor, out of the way, and Sheriff managed to kick it, snap the tail.
Bright Until I Fly says I
But
find
super glue for the win.
the best models are the ones that just go together and don't fight you. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
To know.
They exist.
I
You
would
want
love
a
to
little
find
bit of a
where
fight.
where that happens.
You want a little bit of a fight. Keep it interesting.
So,
Yeah.
do you know what? I only have one working quad these days, and it's my 5-inch Badger with a FETEC stack and an air unit in it. And the reason that's my only quad is because it went together so beautifully. It flies amazingly, and I just don't need any others. You know, as 5-inch quads go, this thing has just been
You've
amazing.
achieved nirvana.
Yeah.
And that's why I've gone for the
Perfect
FETEC all-in-one for my tiny trainer.
Sheriff.
Can I just make one little comment,
Go
actually,
on.
just before we finish? Going back to something that Serb talked about at the beginning. He joked about leaving things in wills. And I know I don't want to kind of finish on this because it's a bit of a slightly morbid subject. But joking aside, me and one of my best flying buddies have actually willed our RC collection to each other's, more probably to annoy the wives in this situation than anything else. But joking aside, when you're redoing your will and you have that bit, just if you've got a buddy that you love and you want to have fun after you've gone, will them your kit because it's only going to end up in a script.
Yeah,
Just going to say.
absolutely.
So my kit is all yours. As simple as that.
Right, we were all witnesses. It's legal. It's done.
Yeah. So gets all my kit
Signed and
when
sealed.
I pop my clogs.
But all of it, but it's all broken.
Notarize it.
It's not all broken.
Yeah, it comes with hot glue. Some assembly required.
Finley says we need to get Painless 360 through some race gates. I like that idea. Yes.
Well, it would be an interesting day because I don't race, but yeah, if you want the race gates to look a little bit skew with, a little bit bent, I'm quite happy to have a go.
Well, perhaps we can talk you into getting on the road on a Friday evening and coming to one of our Friday race practices. That would be quite interesting.
It would have been better before lockdown because at the moment the motorways are back to pre-thingy. It's horrific.
They're not that bad.
You've got to be joking. I went over to York in the middle of this week and it was like nobody had ever stayed at home ever.
But
I think everyone was on the M62.
What happened to people during lockdown? They forgot how to drive. They're even worse than before lockdown.
That too, yeah.
I do the M42 and the M6 like 4, maybe 5 times a week, and I do it in rush hour, and it's
Yes,
fine.
but you're doing it for love, so you're looking at through rose-tinted glasses.
I swear,
Yeah,
I swear
I-
to God,
yeah.
commuting to the office is not something I do
think
for
you've got
love.
Rose tinted glasses. You've got your Katy Perry CD on. You said life's good.
It's only
I'll take my golf
It's
card away
funny
if I play
because it's
Katy
true.
Perry. Screw you guys, I'm going home.
Isn't that an hour drive away?
No, I'm there already.
But yes, and Finley, we need to get Finley out to race practice as well. So Finley, we need to talk you into it because I'm sure you are a very, very quick young man. But yeah, if we can get Lee out to through some race gates, that would make an interesting
fun.
video, wouldn't it?
That'll be fun.
It would be nice just to come and hang out, actually, guys. It'd be nice to see you because I haven't. I mean, James and I haven't seen each other for a couple of years at least, and it'll be nice just to say hi because we can.
Yeah, now we can hug. No, in a very manly way, we can hug.
Yeah, absolutely. Making gruff noises before we do it.
Right, chat. Thank you very much for all of your questions. I think we are going to wander off into the twilight. So, RC Maniac, thank you very much for your tip of the
Alright.
week. That was rather marvellous. And Mr. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's brilliant, isn't it? Well, that's a brilliant way to end. There you go. Thank you for saving me the pain of doing that. Mr. Painless at 360 Lee, thank you very much for joining us, mate. It's been great to have you along. Yeah, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Right, so last call for the chat. Good night, Lee. Thanks for coming. So let's have a look who's out there. We'll say good night to everybody there. Could be a good video. 2 weeks practice before going. Oh, actually drag Painless 360 Lee along to a real race. That would be, yeah, that could be interesting. Right, that's it then, guys. I think we're done. Winter Blue, I shall release you off to snuggle on the sofa with your much beloved and watch. Oh no! Oh no! So you're going to be snuggling on the sofa with your laptop. So. Brilliant. So you'll have a nice warm feeling in your lap, but not the one you were hoping for. That's it then. I think we're done. You better go and do some work.